Okay, welcome everyone to Fifth Dimensional Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm broadcasting from Los Angeles once again. We're going to start our session with an active meditation, and I think most of you have been with me before, so you know the grounding meditation. And what we're going to do is we're going to be standing up. So if you want to stand up in a comfortable position, and part of the meditation we're going to be doing is you're going to visualize that you've grown roots from your root chakra and your legs, and you have grown roots, and your roots go deep in the planet Earth. And as you breathe in, you're bringing the energy of the planet, the healing energy, the prana, and you can visualize that it's coming in a form of a green light through your roots. You're pulling it in, it comes in, and it goes through your crown chakra and goes to the sky, to the space. So you're breathing it in and you're breathing it out, and it goes up. And then we're just kind of bouncing up and down gently, like this. And then we breathe in and we breathe out. So imagine that the air is coming, the energy is coming through your roots and spiraling all the way up. And the color is green. So we're going to make a noise like a generator. We'll go up and down. And like a generator, you're sucking in the prana and the healing energy of the planet into your body. So let's do that. We'll go up and down. You close your eyes. Your attention goes on your third eye or your heart, whatever that works easier for you. And visualize that you're pulling in the green light, green energy, the prana from the earth into your body, and it's spiraling through your chakras. So let's start. We begin. And you make a noise like a generator as you're sucking in this energy through your body. So let's start. Make sure you go up and down and pull in the energy. Go up and down. Keep going up and down and keep breathing in and make the noise and suck in the prana and the healing energy from the planet. Bring it inside, pull it inside you and let it flow through your chakras and your body and purifies you and cleanses you and transforms you. Keep going up and down. Just go up and down. Yeah, keep the movement steady. Go up and down. Take a deep breath. Now use your hands. Take a deep breath. Bring your hands up in this form. Take a deep breath. Inhale and exhale. And do it again. Inhale, exhale. And now put your hands on your heart. Feel the energy which is here. You've generated the energy. You brought in the healing energy of planet Earth inside your body, in your etheric body as well. Shifted your aura, your auric field, by bringing light, information, to change things in the very core of yourself, by rebooting, by reprogramming, changing things in cellular memory. We're bringing the healing energy and the wisdom of the planet Earth within your being. And now you can feel the energy with your hands. Something's shifted, something's activated, something's awakened. Take a deep breath and feel your being, feel your presence, your majestic presence, your divine presence, your being, the real you. Feel that. And repeat after me. I love myself.
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 I love everybody.
I love everybody.
I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
I forgive everybody.
I forgive everybody.
Because I'm love.
Because I'm love.
Because I'm light.
Because I'm light.
Because I'm God.
Because I'm God.
That's why I love myself.
That's why I love myself.
And I love others.
And I love others.
Take a deep breath. And now gently go back to your seated position. Go back to your meditation. Stay in your presence, stay in your heart, stay in this presence place that you're in. Leave your mind alone. Don't try to manipulate anything. Slowly come back. Come back here. Okay. So nice to be here with all of you. Back at our academy. And somehow in a magical way, it keeps happening. You know, when I was driving here today, so many things can happen because I have about an hour and 15 minutes of drive. And, you know, there could be a major accident on the freeway, which happens quite often. And then all of a sudden everything's backed up, and something that may take half an hour to accomplish or 45 minutes to accomplish or an hour, it could take 3 hours here in LA area. And I was thinking, or something can happen to the car or whatever, or someone can hit you. There could be an accident. Anything can happen. And I was thinking that in a miraculous way, pretty much every single time, I mean, every time we planned on doing the academy, it has happened. There's been times that I've been traveling, and due to my travel time, I wasn't able to do the academy. But most of the time, basically in Los Angeles, somehow miraculously, it happens, and we make it. So I hope it will continue. Now, I'm going to unmute. I gave you 5 questions, right? So why don't Reza, I'm going to unmute you and you tell me. Okay, hi, Reza.
Hi, Zarathustra, how are you?
Okay. Good. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
So were you able to write down these 5 questions?
Well, if I remember, there was only one major question, and
one major question,
and that was what I received from Shishi. She said, "Look within and ask yourself what is existence trying to tell you." So that's
right.
a major question that she asked.
Right. So yeah, the major question is, one question about what is life is trying to tell you. What is life is trying to show you. Okay. That's the major thing. Were you able to?
Yeah, well, actually, when you asked the question last week, I immediately recalled a Persian poem, I think from Rumi, I'm not sure, that applies to everyone, whether or not we realize it. Okay. I'm not going to read that poem in Persian because probably you and maybe Sister Shadi, you understand the Persian.
Right.
But its translation, if I've done correctly, it says that I discovered that my desirable is at home, within me. The extra searches were pointless. So I don't know, have you heard about that poem? That's very meaningful in Persian language, but when you translate to English, it somehow loses some of its meaning. So anyway, that's the general translation. General meaning is that I discovered that my desirable is within me. So whatever I'm searching outside is really pointless. And that is really existence trying to tell everyone, not only me, to every human being. So since we have this body, we are normally searching outside of ourselves for an answer. And we know that that's living in the third dimension. So because of that situation, we see ourselves separate from entities that you mentioned last week. We judge people. We have thoughts, and we think that those thoughts are us, but really they are not. We seek happiness outside of ourselves. Things like money, relationship, job, position, everything. We see the things by opposite because we are living in a duality.
Right.
There's a relative.
So Reza, in a nutshell, in one sentence, existence is trying to show you what you're looking for is within yourself.
Within me, that's right.
Correct?
Yeah, that is true.
Within yourself. Great. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Okay.
And Hilde Evenstad.
Hi.
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 So what did you come up with?
The existence told me that if I am fighting my fears, I will find myself, the true love within. So I understood that I've been fighting my fears for 50 years now.
Okay, if you repeat that question again, if you fight your fears or overcome your fear,
then I will find the real love, and that is within.
Okay, so that's the main question or main challenge or main message that existence is giving you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for sharing with us. Marit Rosen, did you come up with?
Much the same as Reza. That I won't be happy by having a nice home and money enough to buy my bills, etc. That doesn't make me happy. Happiness comes from all the smaller things, like going for a walk, chatting with my neighbors, and being with friends, helping others, maybe.
Right.
That's what makes me happy, not material things.
Beautiful. So that's one message. That's the main message life is trying to give you.
Yeah, and have a quiet, relaxed mind. But that's you who have taught me.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, welcome.
And Therese, you were with us last week.
Yes.
Yeah. So what can you share with us the one major message that life has been sending you all of your life?
Yes. Existence, God, tried to wake me up, and sometimes it's with a lot of violence experience, and I realized that the physical world is not real. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the main message that life is trying to give you?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That in a nutshell, in one sentence, what is your If you have to put it in
I
one
can't hear
sentence,
anything.
what is it life is trying to tell you? You can't hear me.
Oh, I can hear you now. What did you
Okay.
say?
So in one sentence, what has it life been trying to tell you all of your life? If you were to put it on one,
God has created my life, especially for me to wake up
to wake up. Okay.
to the real life, to the divine.
Right. To the real life.
Yes.
Right. To the real life. To the
Yeah.
real life.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Who else? Anybody else wants to share from? Okay. Hi, Marian.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did do the homework. I just forgot I did. Life, life is trying to teach me to love myself and follow my inner vision and to live my truth.
Okay, that's beautiful.
In different ways. It comes back all the time.
Right. Okay. So that's the main thing that life, the main message that life is trying to send you.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Can you hear other people talking? Do you hear when someone else speaks? Yeah? Okay, great. Fantastic. Thanks, sweetheart. Appreciate it. Kirsten. Here, I'm going to unmute you.
Okay.
Okay.
It was about the loneliness and pain. It was my keywords from last time, and then I should put it in. And I think it's something about I must trust in God that everything will be okay. I don't know.
Okay, so that's the main message that you keep getting in this life. That life is giving you, this is the main message you get.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Camilla, would you like to share? Camilla Hansen, do you feel like
hello.
sharing?
Well, I don't have the answer. Sorry.
You don't have the answer. Okay, no problem. No problem. Was there anybody else that wanted to share? Okay. Shadi, hi Shadi.
Hi.
Hi Shadi.
Hi. Can you
Hi.
hear me? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. What I have found when I put myself in quiet moment, I saw love gave me a direction, the correct direction into my life. So then I cannot go to the mistakes or any other direction. This pulled me here and there. So I found the quiet moment in my life, I will give a good direction. And that is kind of, it is like a love giving me direction to the correct path. So that I found myself in this way. So I found who I am, where I'm supposed to go, and where should go through the life. That was
okay. Beautiful. Great. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. You know, last week we were talking and the conversation came to one of the early imprints that is registered in our psyche. Is for those of you who are new, and because some people wrote to me after the our academy last week to elaborate a little bit more on this subject. So, so I like to talk about it this time and kind of wrap it up so it's not an incomplete discussion. So one of the discoveries that I realized in this life was that, you know, when we're born, it's literally impossible because you're born and your connection to the other world is just through your parents. Let's say supposedly every child who's born, they have parents. Supposedly, it's a hypothetical situation. We're not talking about orphan kids or single mother or single dad, single parent. But let's say your connection to the world is through your parents. And you're completely helpless because you're a little baby. You can cover yourself to keep yourself warm. You can't eat when you want to eat. You can't drink if you're thirsty. You can't protect yourself. So everything that all of your needs are depending on these two adults who are your parents or your guardian or your caretaker, whomever, your nanny, whatever the person, your grandma, whatever is the person is taking care of you. So you're completely dependent on your parents. And you're completely helpless and defenseless. So, and you're newborn. And that goes on for at least a few years before you can really speak up or you can do something about it. If you don't, at least 2 years, 3 years, minimum. And in this period of time, there are times that, okay, mom cannot hold you against her breast, cannot be hugging you. You know, dad is working. Supposedly, we're talking about old school, that men work and mothers taking care of children. I'm just using a typical scenario of a situation just for the simplicity of explaining the story, okay? So I don't want anyone come back to me and say, okay, this is a very prejudiced or biased type of explaining the story. I'm just explaining it on a typical basis around the world. So the dad goes to work, mom's staying home taking care of the baby. So there are times, okay, dad's not around, and mom cannot hold the baby against her 24/7 all the time. There's going to be time that she has to put the baby in his crib and then go cook, do something, is cleaning up, washing something, answering the phone. She needs to do her own stuff. And what happens for the child is going to have an early imprint of being abandoned, of being left out. There's going to be moments that, let's say 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, whatever is the situation, that the child is lying down on its bed and is completely without an adult attending to the child. And the child is going to experience being left out. And that's the very first imprint that we're going to have of being abandoned. And abandonment happens. Now, we're not talking about all the children that are orphaned. We're not talking about all the children that they lost their mom, they lost their dad, something happened, or they got shipped from one home to another. We're just talking about the typical ones. So, and a lot of us could fall into that category. So the very first imprint that we're going to have is, from the time we're born, is we're left out. And this left out when you're, for whatever duration of time. Now let's say, for example, that you have a newborn baby, or the child is 5 months old, whatever it is, and okay, the child is sleeping, it's in his bed, her bed, and mom's not around, she's cooking, she's resting, she's taking a nap, whatever is doing, and dad is doing his own thing, and the baby wakes up and there's no adults. Remember that the baby's existence connected into mom and dad. These are the main arteries that connected to this baby. These two arteries, these two connections, these two cables of the baby's current situation to the world, to the life outside, is only through these two people. And one is out there working and providing for the family, and mom is at home doing her chores. And the baby wakes up and there's nobody there taking care of the baby right away. So the baby gets very afraid, frightened, and begins to feel abandoned and left out. Now let's say the baby awakened and she is in his bed for half an hour, 40 minutes before mommy finds out that the baby woke up, before mommy gets to the baby. So because she doesn't know, she's doing her thing, she's cooking, she's behind the computer, she's cleaning the house, she's doing something, doing preparation. And you know, after half an hour, the baby starts crying. So then she goes and picks up the baby. But in that half an hour, the baby is completely alone by itself and feels left out. Now, what happens if you're left out? What happens if when somebody leaves you? What is, when you're left out in your life, let's say your partner, someone you're very much in love with, and they leave you for somebody else. What happens? In life, your best friend left you. You have a few good friends and they just turned their back to you and they left you. What happens when we're left out in life? What's the first emotion that comes? Fear. We get frightened. I'm going to unmute you. Hi, Catherine.
Hi. It's a kind of fear, but also I think at this, the feeling of separation, that we separate, it's this artificial feeling, you know. Now I'm alive, but it's a kind of, we feel separation, and it hurts because we feel that we are tuned to someone who is not there, but it is there. It means that it's not at the same place where we want him or her to be with us.
Right. So fear comes, and then there's anger. We get angry that we've been left out.
Yes.
Right? How could they leave me out? How could they just not be there for me anymore? And then it resolves to what? What is the conclusion of being frightened because you're left out in the middle of nowhere? You know, let's say you're traveling in the desert and going from Los Angeles to Phoenix, and you're in a bus or something, and the bus pulls over in the middle of the desert for getting gas or whatever. You get out of the bus, you go buy something, or there's nothing around, but you're gonna go for a walk. You come back and the bus is gone and you're left out. So first is the fear, then it comes getting angry that they left you out, and then it turns to hate. It turns to anger, it turns to hate. that you've been left out. And what happens is down deep in the very core of us, there is hate. And who do we hate mostly in our core, without even knowing? Is our parents. We hate our parents in our very core without knowing it, because we got abandoned by our parents. We got abandoned by the two that we were most dependent on and we loved, and that was the very core of our existence, and they left you out. So there is a underlying hate that then later on, as we're growing up, it gets covered up by guilt and shame, because nobody wants to, you know, you grow up with your parents, and let's say they're loving parents, and of course you say, I love my parents, I love my parents myself. But in the very underlying, the very, very foundation, there is a layer of hate because you got left out. And then this abandonment is going to determine your decisions in your future, the rest of your life. And it just escalates from there. Now, what happens when your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your best friend is gonna leave you? The feelings, the emotions, what you go, why do we get and go into this state, this place of getting so contracted in our lives? Like it's as if you're dying when you're getting left out, because it goes back to the very first imprint in our very, very early time of we were born, that we got left out in the cold. And look at this, how this is going to affect you for your entire life, and most of us are not even aware of it. Our decisions we're making in our relationships. How many times we have gone through separations or destroyed relationships, friendships, love affairs, whatever, because of this very thing that is very deep in our psyche, of being abandoned, being left out. And pay attention, how many of us get frightened when you're alone? You're lonely, well, not lonely, you're alone somewhere. You're alone by yourself in your apartment, in your house. And then it starts getting weird. There's this weirdness comes that you can't handle it. You know, you have to get outside. You need to go to a coffee shop. You need to be around people. You have to call friends. You have to have people around you. So many people need to be married. They need to have children around them. They have to have a pet. They have to have some sort of presence of another being around them. Because what happens is when you're completely alone, they start feeling this emptiness. And it goes back to the very first imprint of the very beginning of when we got left out. And it triggers that. And that's tremendous and horrific that unconsciously we cannot tolerate it, because it reminds us of the very, very early time, and the fear and the weirdness, everything comes out. So this is something very important for us to be aware of, because once the awareness comes to it, once you start to become aware of this, then there's light on it. You're no longer in the darkness. I'm not saying that by becoming aware of it, immediately the weirdness or the feelings of abandonment is going to disappear. No, but now you're aware of this. It's not creeping on you any longer unconsciously. You're very aware when it starts to rise, and you can identify it. Your fear, your anger that goes to hate, you start to identify that the rise of this thing, and you're aware of it, and you don't react to it unconsciously any longer. It's not owning you any longer. It doesn't mean you won't feel being left out and being abandoned. It's not covering the feeling, but what it does is you're no longer reacting like a robot to it. Awareness is there. You're being left out, you're somewhere very alone. There is no sound, there is no TV, there's no, you can't get on your phone, whatever situation, you cannot distract yourself. And then you have the awareness. And now you realize, okay, I'm feeling weird. This weirdness is coming out of me, that I'm going to go crazy. No, I can't be alone. You know, I cannot be alone by myself. I have to find someone or something. It's like a drug. You have to numb yourself. You have to cover it up. But now you're aware of that. And if you work on yourself and you know meditation, you stay in that place and you let the weirdness to happen in your body, but you stay with it and to see what is it gonna do to you. And of course, it has no power over you if you don't react to it. And that's where light is shining on the darkness. Now you're putting light on a corner of your own darkness. And that's very important for the spiritual warrior. Because if you look back your entire life, you've been covering this up. And not just you, all of us. All of us have been covering this up. And we continue covering it up by amusement, by entertainment, by having other people around us. I know people that I have friends. I have a good friend that I love him, but he cannot handle not speaking for 5 minutes and being in silence. Like if I don't say anything and he doesn't say, he gets very nervous. He has to talk all the time. He has to fill up the space with blah, 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 because he cannot handle silence, being quiet. He gets frightened. And I know other friends that they always have to have a girlfriend, male friends. They cannot ever be single. If it's not long-term relationship, it's short-term relationship. If it's not short-term, it's not a girlfriend, they have to have a guy friend. Someone has to be around them all the time. If they can't be with another friend, they have to be with their parents. They can't be with their parents, they have to be with their co-workers. Whatever they want to do, they can't even go to a coffee shop alone. They have to have someone with them all the time. Or being on the phone, or being on the computer, or being... You start looking at that. And you start seeing it yourself, for yourself. And then you begin, once you start to identify this with yourself, you can easily see it with other people. Easily. And this is going to free you, because if you really pay attention to this, which is very important because it's the very core of your existence from the time you were born and you came on this planet. So this is ruling you, always ruling you. This empty space of loneliness. And you can transform to the higher level unless you become completely aware of this and transform this. Because for all of your life, all of your decisions are going to be based on the fear of being lonely. And when you're making decisions based on fear, of course, there are going to be failures because you're not operating from your center. You're operating from a fear-based place that looking for some sort of illusory security which doesn't exist because that security is just not there. And you build your life on an illusory security that has no existence, and it keeps failing and failing. The one thing that we're deprived from, and that's of course by design in this life, of course it's God's will, of course it's meant to be, that we don't have the ability by connecting to the one mind. If we had the ability to connect to the one mind, like for example, all of us right now through internet, we're able to connect with each other and see each other. But if human beings had developed telepathic abilities, more advanced, and we could connect to one mind, that means that we had the ability to communicate with each other without any devices. And you could allow other people to come in and you could get inside their heads too. So you're here, and if you feel you're left out or whatever, you somehow would open up the channel and then you could hear other people. You're talking to your mom, you're talking to your best friend, and not only you're speaking to them, but they could feel what you feel. And you could feel them. So it would basically bring us to this place that you would never suffer from loneliness. Because you would always experience total connectedness, and other people could feel what you feel, and that would solve a lot of issues because it was virtually impossible to lie, because we would be transparent very much, and it would be virtually impossible to feel lonely. Because no matter where you are, physically you're alone somewhere, but you could never be lonely. You would connect to the one mind and communicate and allow other people to feel what you feel. because most of us through life, we're going through this thing of saying like, nobody knows, nobody understands me, nobody knows what I feel. And all of us have said that to ourselves, especially when we're going through stuff. Nobody can understand what I'm going through. So there is this deep sense of loneliness that we go through our lives. Of course, when spiritually you begin to get more advanced and you start to really realize yourself, and then of course eventually you realize that you're never alone. But that happens in later on stages in your spirituality as you mature more and you start to really feel the divine presence around yourself and cherish that and start your connection with the divine self. That connection, when you recognize your connection with God, again, I'm using the word God, but I'm not talking about that guy, talking about the self, talking about the grand spirit. But by recognizing your connection with the spirit, Her Majesty, that's a recognition that happens and you're starting to mature in your spiritual path. Spiritual maturity starts to happen by recognizing your connection to God. And messages start to go back and forth because existence, God, existence, the big kahuna, the supreme intelligence. You can call it the supreme intelligence. It's always in connection and is always in communication with us. But in our early stages of our spirituality, we don't recognize it as much as you become more advanced. The more you become advanced, the more you see this communication. And you are in this communication on a regular basis. And you're not limiting it to your guru or your teacher. You're not limiting it to be in the ashram or in the temple or in the church or in a spiritual place. You're not limiting it to that. You're experiencing it 24/7 wherever you are. And the more we get established into that, of course, the more the sense of loneliness and abandonment begin to dissipate. Because that's the very core and the very thing that we suffer from, all of us. That down deep in the very core of your existence, you feel lonely. Suffering from loneliness. Suffering from being left out. Suffering from not being understood. And of course, we thank God, we find each other. Whether you go to a yoga class, meditation, you go to a workshop, you go to ashrams, somehow spiritual community, you tap into a spiritual community that you resonate with, and you find your brothers, sisters, and then you find out that you're not the only one who feels this way and is on this path. And there's other people, and that's a blessing, finding your brothers, sisters. Like this community we have now. And there's many, many more. But ultimately is the recognition of the one thing that we deeply suffer from, and we've been suffering from it. And most of our decisions on this life, the very core of the decisions is based on that. Loneliness. And a deep fear that we have, that what's going to happen when I'm older? Am I going to be old and lonely? Am I going to die lonely? And a lot of people make decisions. They get married, having kids. You know, in the old school, it's like that. You know, I've had a lot of like old timers telling me, oh, why don't you get married? Why don't you have children, Zarathustra? Aren't you worried that, you know, the kids are going to be there for you when you're old? You know, that's a deep fear that I have to have children because when I get old, I don't want to be lonely. And it's very valid, you know, but you know, times have changed now. These days, children don't stick around, especially in the modern world. It doesn't matter you have kids or not. They're not going to be with you anyway when you're older, most of the time. If by then they don't hate you in the modern world. It was happening in the old days, and it is happening in certain areas in the world, old school. But anybody has any questions? You can either, if I don't see you, can raise your hand, or if not, you can go into the chat box and send me a message if you have questions. No, what a nice quiet bunch today. Everyone's quiet. I think I put you in a deep thoughts. Okay, we do have Shadi. I'm going to unmute you. Okay.
Hi.
Shadi, you're
yes. Okay. Okay. So my question was, how can I get the healing from you? Because I'm not still to that point to give any healing to anyone. But how can I get from you to my sister, which is not here? She's in back home, like she's in Iran. And then sometimes I feel she is having problem, like what you said about the childhood, abandonness, and she doesn't work. She has husband, she has family, but she always fears about everything. So it's not that strong, not that path which I went through, but still she afraid of everything.
So, okay, so let me get clear because I want to make sure I understand. You're asking me how you can give healing to your sister. Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, I did unmute her.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Oh, sorry. Somehow, hold on a second. System is muting you. I'm trying to. What's going on? I can't.
Yeah.
I unmute her, but then it's muted. Just okay. I can hear you now.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, that was about my sister. How can I get from you if I need to like pay you or anything? Just let me know. So how can I get it for her?
So I'm not quite sure exactly what you're asking me. How can I?
Remember we had the shamanic healing in LA. I came to LA and I got that one, which was very helpful. I had very maybe 4 experiences after that, I had something in my body and that is removed. So I went to the MRI, so it was not there. It was quite shocking. So yeah, that was, and then many things, other stuff happened. I had some dreams. I had energy now in my hand and palm. So many difference has changed since that time, and I'm still feeling it because every time I continue, if I'm not able to attend on time on Tuesday, on Thursday, because I work, still follow you on Facebook and I see all your session. I continue doing the same meditation every week and every day, at least sit for half an hour. I have very good experience. And I want my sister also to get this type of healing, like physical, mental, from you.
Are you, let me ask you this, are you coming to the healing training program that I'm having in March? You know about it?
In Toronto?
No, here in
LA?
Los Angeles. Right.
In March, I'm gonna go back home, Iran. So
Okay, you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm not here exactly for 3 weeks. That time I'm not there. Probably maybe in another time. Really, I would love to come.
Okay. So what I can do is I can make a private session with your sister and work on her on Skype if she's open to it, or if not, then you and I can talk about it, and we can make an arrangement that I work on her. Whether she, okay, so you want me to work on her without her knowing, or she's going to be knowing about it?
No, I'm gonna tell her. Then when I go back home in March, I wanted to talk about this if you're supposed to come on February, but I heard you're not coming when you're gonna come on in another time. I don't know how we do it. That's why I talk about it now. So in March, I'm gonna go there.
Let's, Shadijan, let's talk about, this is more of a private situation. How about if we talk this off of the Academy time, and then we go on from there. So you're welcome to call me or Facebook me or whatever, and we talk about your sister's situation. Okay, sweetheart?
Great. Yes, sure. I just want to know which phone number. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll Facebook you my phone number. So let's see, is there any other question here? All right, okay, hi, all right. Okay, hi.
Yes, I was thinking about something, about this loneliness. And this came to my mind that we have a kind of, it may be derived from our expectation to others, that they should respond and react what we think that they should. And then this is something that if we set people free, parents, friends, others, and then we realize that we set them free and we give a freedom to us. It's really the same. It's like, it's coming like, there is no expectation. If there is a response, yes, and it's okay. It's like with the parents, they expect from the kids they will behave like this. I have the same with my mom, and I'm trying to explain her that if I'm going to India for 2 months, I still really love her, and it doesn't matter that I'm there and she's there. And there is a still deep connection, between me and my mom, and nothing is really changing. And it's something, expectation feel that we'll feel lonely, I think so. This one, but it's my fault,
Okay, so let me ask you this. So you're asking me a question, or you're just sharing your
yes,
thoughts?
Yes, sharing and also asking the kind of a question. Is it maybe a part of it? How do you think? How do you feel?
So what is the question?
That is a kind of this loneliness or feeling loneliness. It's because of expectation, a part of it, that we expect something.
Yes,
that.
Well, yeah, it is the loneliness. Again, we go back to the very first imprint, as I mentioned, is the expectation. Of course, you're expecting your parents to take care of you and be there 24/7 because you're completely helpless. You're 3 weeks old. You're 5 weeks, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and you're completely helpless. And in this 2-year, 3-year time till you're able to voice or speak, you know, by the time you're 2, you speak a little bit and you're saying things. Yes, you cry and you know, you can throw a fit by crying, but you're not really communicating and telling what your problem is. You have pain, you're cold, you're hungry, you're uncomfortable. You can't really explain your situation, especially the first year that you're not even moving much. So in that period of time, you're expecting your parents to take care of you and to know your needs, but it's almost impossible for them to know your needs all the time. They're guessing what you need, but they don't know exactly what you need. So that's where it turns to hate, because you hate them for not being there and not meeting your expectations at every moment. And this hate is in the very underlying of your psyche. So later on, of course, we don't want to admit that. I don't want to admit I hate my mother. But what happens? You say, you know what, I love my mom, but when I go stay with her during Thanksgiving or Christmas, she drives me crazy.
I had the same.
Okay. Yeah, they drive you crazy.
Yes, true.
Yeah, so they drive you crazy because down deep, there is resentment. You're resenting them down very deep. You're not aware of it because you never thought about it.
Yes, but I use Yes, but I use some kind of meditation, yes, with Dr. Diamond, to how to love my mom, for instance, and it's helped me a little bit, you know, to deal with it.
It's never occurred to any of us that down deep there is hate. Now, I'm not talking about later on in our childhood that, okay, parents divorce, they send you stay with your grandmother because they can't take care of you. You know, your dad is alcoholic, your mom has 5 kids, she can't take care of you, and she sends you when you were 9 years old to stay with your grandmother. And later on in years, you say, I hate my parents. I'm not talking about those scenarios. Those are obvious. I'm talking about ordinary people who grew up with loving family or don't come from a broken family. The most normal back then it was, but down deep in our psyche, doesn't matter, whomever, loving family, not loving family, whatever the situation has been. Some, there are more obvious, but in general, as a civilization, we don't realize that in the very core of our existence, there's a level of hate because we got abandoned, we got left out, our expectations were not met, which is almost impossible. And that sets the tone for the rest of our lives. of which direction and how we make our decisions, and goes on. Now, you may cover that up later on by overeating to cover that emptiness. You may become alcoholic. You may become drug addict. You may become nervous. You may some disorder may be developed, some kind of behavior, whatever it is. But that's in the very, very core of the very first imprint that's been put in our psyche. Being abandoned, being left out. And that turns to hate. And of course, nobody wants to admit they hate their parents because there is a lot of shame and guilt. So we cover it up. We're not aware of it until you start to see it. And once you start to see it, then everything starts to change. Because now there is light on the darkness. Now there is light on yourself. You begin to see, oh my God, this desperate feeling I have that I have to get married. You know, I'm becoming 35, I'm getting 40. I have to get married. I have to have a family. I have to have a partner. This desperation, this act that we have, the way we behave, that gets more desperate. You can see the roots coming from that place. And then when you trace it back to that place, then there is room for transformation. Then you can free yourself from this lifelong thing that's been holding you from opening your wings and really flying, because it's holding you back. It's not allowing you to fully realize yourself and open up your wings to self-realization, because there's a codependency there. Something's missing. You cannot fully realize yourself. To open your heart to love completely, which is yourself, and free yourself, because down deep, you're suffering from being abandoned, from being left out. You're lonely. And loneliness means you're separate. You're not whole, you're not complete, you're not able to come to wholeness, to realize that you're complete. There's something missing. What is it missing? Till you realize this in your very core, this is what's missing. So what we're doing is we're peeling the onion. We're taking a layer and another layer off and another layer of the onion. We're peeling the onion. And we're going deeper in this exploration, this journey of our own selves. Going deeper inside ourselves. And as we're going deeper in this journey, it's beautiful, but it's frightening too. Because we start to, you're hanging in there, we're together. Some of you are here every week. That means you have this desire for freedom. You want to self-realize. You want to realize yourself, and you're not running away. But in this exploration of going within, it's not all peaches and cream. We're not just talking about, oh, wow, I love it, oh, I feel so great, oh, I love everybody. No, there are times you just have to go deep inside and take a look at your darkness and realize stuff. And that's frightening. It's very scary. And I say, congratulations, hanging in there. But it gets more interesting and more interesting. Okay, I have one more comment here. Let's see, what time is it? And then I see if I have time to answer this. Un momento, bear with me. Great talk, Zarathustra, so much what I needed to hear. Now my answer to the main question was being the outsider, but existence have been teaching me that I am not alone. Great, beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Catherine. I read your message, Catherine. Thank you. I will unmute you if you want to say anything. You're unmuted if you, okay. Yeah, if you have something to say, because our time's come to the end.
Yeah, no, just thank you. It's been great.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here and sharing. Okay, my beautiful friends, it's nice to see everybody, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, same time. Broadcasting from Los Angeles again, okay? Namaste. Feel free to reach out, by the way, and for those of you who are new or living in the area, I will be presenting at Conscious Life Expo at LAX Hilton. That's going to be February 9th, 10th, 11th. I have 3 events. And on Monday evening, February 12th, I have the post-con event, which is from 8 till 10:30 in the evening. It's a third eye activation and awakening the healer within. Now, I have 3 more events in Los Angeles. I have a free lecture on February 18th here in LA at a place called The Gateway. And that's going to be Sunday, February 18th from 5 in the afternoon till 7:30. And then on the 22nd, I have another event, which is a shamanic group healing. And then on March 2nd to 6th is the healing training program. So I'm offering healing training program level 1 and level 2 here in Los Angeles. For more information and details, please refer to my website, which is Zarathustra.tv. Good to see you all, and I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless. Namaste.